want him to be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol, and that he wasn't going to receive security.
A low rumble of tension has hovered over the monarchy ever since that explosive interview shook the world. But now, the silence within Buckingham Palace has finally shattered. Behind closed doors, whispers turned into strategy sessions, and strategy hardened into resolve. After months of mounting pressure and relentless public scrutiny, King Charles has taken a step no one believed he ever would. A legal line has been drawn, and a royal battle is officially underway. But what finally pushed him to file a defamation suit against Meghan? Echoes of a fractured crown. Nearly half a decade after the world paused to watch Meghan and Harry speak beneath the gentle California sun, the tremors from that March 2021 broadcast continued to shape the monarchy's public identity. What began as a televised revelation for over 17 million American viewers had, over time, stretched into a conflict far larger than anyone inside Buckingham Palace anticipated. It was no longer just about one interview. It had become a struggle over who controlled the very story of the modern royal family. Long before lawyers and press conferences entered the picture, the palace had tried to soften the fallout. 2 days after the Oprah conversation aired, the Queen issued a brief message expressing sadness, noting that the concerns raised, especially those touching on race, were taken seriously. It was a familiar attempt at calm diplomacy, the kind the monarchy had relied on for generations. Yet beneath the polished phrasing, the divide was widening. The public sympathy surrounding Meghan's accounts of isolation and untreated mental health struggles clashed with growing frustration within royal circles, who believed that private issues were becoming weapons in public hands. As the years rolled on, the tension deepened. Each new project from the Sussexes, whether the 2022 Netflix series or Harry's 2023 memoir Spare, added fresh layers of accusation, introspection, and unresolved pain. Stories that once lived behind palace gates became global talking points. Private conversations about Archie's skin color, moments of emotional crisis, and claims of institutional neglect echoed in headlines from London to Los Angeles. And every retelling pushed the monarchy further into a defensive crouch. By the time King Charles stepped forward with a defamation suit, the sense of accumulated strain had become impossible to ignore. Insiders whispered that the decision was not made lightly. Behind closed doors, months of deliberation unfolded, fueled by the belief that the crown's credibility could no longer survive in silence while celebrity-driven narratives shaped public perception. One aide, speaking anonymously, described the king's choice as the final response to years of failed attempts at reconciliation, a reluctant but necessary protection of the institution's integrity. The day the announcement was delivered, London felt charged. Crowds lined the streets near where Charles addressed the press, some holding signs declaring justice for the crown, others waving placards defending Meghan's right to speak her truth. Security tightened as voices rose, a reminder of how sharply the world had split over a family once viewed as an unshakable symbol of unity. Cameras captured Charles, emphasizing loyalty, stability, and the need to preserve the monarchy's role in public life. Even then, experts were quick to warn that defamation cases, especially those involving global broadcasts, were winding roads with no guaranteed outcome. Observers compared the moment to past royal crises, including the shockwaves of 1936, when another monarch faced a test of tradition versus public opinion. But this time, the battleground was not a throne. It was the narrative itself. Newspapers, documentaries, and social media had become the new arenas where reputations lived or died. The Oprah interview's emotional honesty, Meghan's confessions of suicidal thoughts, Harry's accounts of family tension, and the palace's restrained responses all contributed to a long-running collision between duty and personal truth. As the lawsuit moved forward, the world watched, not because it was a simple family conflict, but because it reflected a larger question about power in the modern age. Who gets to define the story when the cameras never stop rolling? So, when the cameras never stop rolling, what hidden tensions and long-buried conflicts were quietly shaping the royal story before the shocking 2025 lawsuit? Shadows, silence, and the weight of a kingdom. Tension had never fully left the royal landscape. It simply shifted, reshaped, and resurfaced in ways the public could not ignore. Long before the lawsuit announcement sent shockwaves through the press in late 2025, the seeds of conflict had already been quietly taking root, nourished by years of unresolved wounds and competing versions of family truth. Conversations that were once private, emotional, and burdened with misunderstanding gradually became fragments of narratives retold in interviews, documentaries, and best-selling books, each adding another layer to an already tangled story. When Spare emerged in early 2023, with its stark descriptions of Harry's strained bond with Prince William and the emotional chill he felt from King Charles, those inside the palace saw more than a memoir. They saw a shift in tone, a deliberate widening of the gap. The revelations reignited debate over the Oprah interview from March 2021, an event that had already forced the monarchy to confront uncomfortable conversations about race, representation, and accountability. Even respected historians such as Robert Lacey revised earlier works to explore how that broadcast reshaped discussions behind palace walls, prompting new training programs and diversity reviews across royal staff sectors. Yet for many, the claims remained clouded in uncertainty, threaded with ambiguity that invited endless interpretation. This ambiguity only deepened when a 2023 publication revisited the infamous comment about a child's skin tone, framing it as a private exchange through personal letters. Without direct quotations, speculation flourished, not because details were clear, but because they weren't. Each missing piece became fodder for contrasting beliefs, some insisting it exposed entrenched prejudice, others believing it inflated personal frustration into global scandal. Meanwhile, the palace maintained a rigid silence, adhering to its time-honored rule: never complain, never explain. But silence did not mean acceptance. Quiet murmurs from insiders revealed frustration, anger even, over what they saw as one-sided portrayals allowed to cement themselves in public memory. By 2024, after both King Charles and Princess Catherine confronted serious health battles, the family's priorities appeared to shift. Stability mattered more. Legacy mattered more. And the monarchy's image, especially in a rapidly changing modern landscape, could no longer afford to be shaped solely by external voices. Yet, the Sussex narrative kept expanding through new projects, interviews, and streaming deals, each drawing enormous revenue while public support in the UK continued to sway. Polls in late 2025 showed a sharp decline in favorability for both Harry and Meghan, convincing advisors that passivity was no longer a viable strategy. While Meghan's own victory in court back in 2021 had once proven the power of legal recourse, this moment required something different. Palace lawyers sifted through years of statements, broadcasts, and publications, identifying areas they believed went beyond emotional recollection and crossed into alleged reputational harm. The tipping point reportedly aligned with scrutiny over Harry's U.S. visa disclosures, an episode that placed the family once again under an intense microscope, renewing internal debates about public trust and royal accountability. Behind all of this, Prince William and Princess Catherine's influence grew markedly. Their patience had been worn thin long before the memoir landed in bookstores, but its impact solidified their stance. As heirs to the institution's future, they viewed the cascading revelations not merely as personal betrayals, but as existential threats to the monarchy's continuity. Quiet but strategic, their support for legal action symbolized a broader effort to reclaim control of a narrative that had slipped out of reach for too long. Thus, when the lawsuit emerged after nearly 5 years of mounting friction, it did more than reopen old wounds. It repositioned history as an ongoing conflict, reshaping the monarchy's future while reminding the world that the past, especially the unhealed past, never truly stays behind. Could past wounds, never fully healed, be fueling the hidden tensions between the Waleses and Sussexes? And what secrets are now reshaping the heart of the monarchy? Shadows, loyalties, and the new shape of the crown. Whispers from behind palace walls often tell a story far more complicated than public smiles and formal portraits. The tension that once simmered quietly between the Waleses and the Sussexes grew into something heavier, something shaped by bruised trust, shifting loyalties, and a series of choices that slowly reshaped the monarchy's inner world. Long before headlines erupted and books spilled private conversations, William and Catherine were already navigating a widening gap, a divide influenced by differing views on duty, media engagement, and the responsibilities that come with living under history's watchful eye. The release of that now famous memoir only intensified the storm. It didn't just outline claims of physical conflict, it opened the doors to private family disagreements, grievances, and criticisms that William considered deeply personal. To him, it was not merely a breach of protocol, but a rupture in the code that had long allowed the royal family to hold itself together through turbulent generations. That sense of violation deepened an already fragile relationship, one that had been strained since before the 2020 departure to California, an event the British press quickly labeled Mexit. Catherine's place in this shifting landscape evolved in unexpectedly profound ways. Once described as the quiet peacemaker, she found herself forced to reassess her role after the Sussexes' 2022 Netflix documentary painted her as cold during her earliest interactions with Meghan, an image completely disconnected from her years of public work championing children's well-being and mental health. The 2021 Vanity Fair profile comparing her handling of royal crises, including the difficult decision to support removing Prince Andrew's public duties, revealed how her influence had quietly deepened with time. Personal hardship changed her even more. After her 2024 cancer diagnosis, Catherine began to see stability, not as a comfortable luxury, but as something vital to the welfare of her children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, who were becoming increasingly aware of the conflict swirling around their uncle. She worried not only about the institution, but about their innocence, their mental space, their future roles. That vulnerability sharpened her resolve, and aides later said it was this new clarity that pushed her to encourage King Charles to act decisively rather than allow accusations and rumors to define the monarchy. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings unfolded. William, relying on polling data and public trends, including a 2025 Ipsos survey showing his own popularity climbing sharply during his Earthshot campaigns, argued that failing to counter false narratives would weaken public faith. His approach had become more strategic with every passing year, influenced by his responsibilities as heir and his determination to modernize the crown's image. Catherine, while equally firm, brought a quieter emotional logic, reminding the family of the personal wounds left open by every new controversy. Biographers like Katie Nicholl have often portrayed William and Catherine as a unified force, strengthened by shared battles with media scrutiny and personal adversity. Meanwhile, Harry's isolation in California painted a stark contrast, especially when William's few mentions of him in early 2025 stressed accountability more than reconciliation. Their father, King Charles, remained inclined toward forgiveness, yet even he could not ignore the Wales's argument that duty sometimes requires boundaries. This was the climate in which the lawsuit emerged, not as an act of revenge, but as a deliberate line drawn in the sand. It signaled a turning point, a reminder that the monarchy's survival depends not only on tradition, but on disciplined narrative control. And as advisors increasingly fast-tracked William and Catherine into central decision-making roles, it became clear that the future direction of the crown was being shaped not by nostalgia, but by a generation determined to protect it from the inside out. But when Oprah's March 2021 interview was revisited, what unsettling truths emerged that continued to ripple across continents, careers, and the thick walls of royalty? Interview that never truly ended. A quiet unease has followed Oprah Winfrey in the years since that famous March 2021 conversation with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. This sit-down once seemed destined to be remembered simply as groundbreaking television. Instead, it has grown into something heavier, a moment whose echoes now stretch across continents, careers, and royal walls thicker than stone. Those close to her describe an ongoing inner reckoning, not loud or dramatic, but steady and persistent, as though the consequences of that night keep returning in new shapes. In private circles, whispers drift about how she sometimes reflects on what unfolded afterward: the fractures inside the British monarchy, the polarized public reaction, and the surge of online narratives she never intended to fuel. Industry voices hinted at this shift as early as a 2025 Newsweek feature, where a producer admired Meghan's emotional honesty, yet subtly acknowledged Oprah's later feeling that parts of the interview unfolded faster and hit harder than expected. Across digital forums and commentary platforms, viewers speculated that she wished she had pushed for a more measured tone or redirected moments that later became lightning rods in royal discussions. Her concerns stretch far beyond the emotional weight of hindsight. Oprah's global empire has long depended on cross-Atlantic ties, collaborations with UK broadcasters, charity projects built with European partners, and wellness initiatives that reach British schools. The digital wellness program she launched in late 2024 with Meghan and Melinda French Gates, designed to uplift young girls, expanded into UK learning networks, and now sits under the shadow of unpredictable public reactions. Even her 2025 favorite things list, which included Meghan's handcrafted jam, wove her personal endorsements into UK markets through familiar retail channels. These connections, once routine, now feel like delicate threads she must handle carefully. Her long-standing mental health partnership with Prince Harry, announced in 2019 and still influencing international documentaries, adds another layer to the tension. Some of those projects continue developing in Europe, leaving her team to quietly consider how the rising legal storm could complicate distribution plans. And the atmosphere grew even denser with the news of King Charles's defamation lawsuit, a development that thrust Oprah back into headlines she never asked for. Legal analysts have noted that high-profile cases like this could easily lead to subpoenas, similar to the 2022 situation involving Samantha Markle, when Oprah was pulled into the dispute simply because of related communications. Social media, ever eager for controversy, has not been kind. Sensationalized YouTube commentary and Facebook posts pushed exaggerated claims in 2025, insisting she had broken her silence with regretful remarks, statements that remain unverified but have traveled widely. These blurred lines between truth and internet fiction are said to frustrate her deeply, threatening her reputation as a balanced, thoughtful interviewer. Still, those around her say she maintains an unwavering respect for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and the courage it took for them to speak openly. Her challenge now lies in navigating an environment where media narratives shift rapidly. Royal disputes cross into global entertainment, and every decision carries the weight of her decades-long career. With advisors close at hand, she works to protect both her personal values and the integrity of a brand built on empathy, carefully stepping through the long shadow cast by an interview that refuses to fade. So, as the interview's shadow stretched further, what unexpected legal storm erupted, turning a personal revelation into a confrontation that captivated the world? Influence and the weight of words. A single interview, broadcast across continents and replayed in living rooms from London to Los Angeles, has now spiraled into a legal storm no one predicted. What began as a conversation wrapped in emotion and personal revelation has evolved into something far more complicated, a confrontation between public storytelling and the rigid framework of British defamation law. And at the center of it stands King Charles, a figure who never imagined he would one day become the plaintiff in such a case. Long before court papers were filed at London's High Court, the Oprah interview had already carved its place in cultural memory. It aired in March 2021, drawing millions of viewers on UK networks such as ITV, shaping public opinion in real time. But while global audiences focused on the drama unfolding on screen, few understood the legal tremors forming beneath it. The interview's ripple effect pushed influential voices, including Oprah herself, to reflect on the fine line between empathetic storytelling and the responsibility to prevent unintended reputational harm. The lawsuit now invokes the Defamation Act 2013, a landmark reform that reshaped the balance between free expression and personal protection. Unlike the pre-2013 landscape, where even minor slights could ignite legal battles, the current legal threshold is far more demanding. To prove defamation, the claimant must demonstrate serious harm, not a bruised ego or emotional discomfort, but measurable damage. For someone like King Charles, this means showing evidence of a tangible decline in public trust, financial consequences, weakened diplomatic ties, or widespread social backlash provoked by Meghan's televised statements. Central to the case are the allegations made during the interview regarding supposed remarks about Archie's skin color and claims of institutional indifference toward mental health struggles. The palace contends these assertions were not only untrue, but published to millions, and that their impact lingers in public discourse years later. Polls, diplomatic commentary, and shifts in international perception may now become part of the courtroom narrative, transforming public sentiment into legal ammunition. Legal history offers both contrast and precedent. Meghan's own 2021 courtroom victory against Associated Newspapers set a strong example of how privacy and misuse of personal information can be defended successfully. Yet that case dealt with deeply personal letters, not accusations broadcast to the world. Prince Harry's 2020 libel win provided a closer parallel. He proved that a false claim about his charitable work had crossed the line, resulting in damages and an apology. These past victories demonstrate that even high-profile individuals can win when the facts clearly support them. However, this moment feels different. Here, the monarchy itself is stepping into the legal spotlight, reversing a long tradition of remaining silent above the noise. The palace's legal strategy may even explore the lesser-used tort of injurious falsehood if it argues that the allegations caused economic loss. However, such an approach is uncommon in cases centered on reputation. As the lawsuit moves forward, what remains undeniable is how a single televised conversation has forced a global reckoning about truth, influence, and the powerful consequences of words spoken before the world. Could the words spoken before the world really trigger consequences powerful enough to shake the palace? King Charles' legal action against Meghan is rewriting royal history. Tradition meets modern scrutiny. The palace corridors, long steeped in unspoken rules and private grievances, are now witnessing a confrontation unlike any before. King Charles, stepping decisively into the public arena, has taken legal action against Meghan, challenging explosive claims made during the 2021 Oprah interview. This move signals a dramatic shift from the age-old never complain, never explain ethos, reflecting a monarchy adapting to the relentless gaze of viral media and global scrutiny. Unlike past disputes quietly managed behind palace walls, this case places the royal family directly under legal and public examination, testing both institutional authority and modern accountability. At the heart of the lawsuit are compensatory damages, injunctions to prevent repeated statements, and a court-mandated retraction or apology, measures designed to curb ongoing reputational harm. UK defamation law, traditionally more favorable to plaintiffs than its US counterpart, places a significant burden on defendants to prove truth, while recent 2013 reforms demand clear evidence of serious harm to secure victory. Legal analysts predict a protracted confrontation lasting 12 to 24 months, with pre-trial arguments over jurisdiction and disclosure poised to expose sensitive palace communications, emails, and production documents from the Oprah interview, potentially embarrassing both parties. For Meghan, born in 1981 to a biracial family, her journey from actress to duchess has been punctuated by public fascination and intense scrutiny. Her advocacy on mental health, racial equality, and institutional accountability through platforms like Archwell has earned acclaim, but this lawsuit introduces unprecedented legal challenges. Meanwhile, Prince Harry, navigating the strain of estrangement from the family while maintaining his Invictus legacy, faces the personal cost of these public battles. The stakes extend beyond personal reputations. Crown lawyers draw on precedents such as Johnny Depp's 2020 defamation case and Lawrence Fox's 2024 defeat, underscoring the court's insistence on verifiable truth. Meghan's team may counter with defenses grounded in free speech under Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights, or the Public Interest Clause in Section 4 of the Defamation Act, emphasizing societal relevance and reasonable belief in their claims. Confidential settlements remain a possibility, as seen in numerous celebrity disputes. though both sides appear prepared for a courtroom showdown. Public reaction has been immediate and divided. In the UK, tabloids hailed the King's action as overdue justice, with Express polls showing 75% support, while progressive outlets condemned it as censorship. Across the Atlantic, US media emphasized free expression, and European commentators drew parallels to historic royal disputes. Social media ignited with royal lawsuit. Feminist groups rallied for Meghan, and monarchists rallied behind Charles, creating ripples in philanthropy, media discourse, and public opinion. This lawsuit encapsulates the monarchy's delicate balancing act, protecting legacy and privacy while confronting modern media dynamics, public expectation, and the demand for accountability. Whether it will foster dialogue, deepen divides, or set new legal precedents, it marks a defining moment in the evolution of royal authority in a digital age. So, what do you think sparked King Charles to finally file a defamation suit against Meghan over the Oprah interview? We'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe.